This is lesson 9.1, independent and dependent variables. An equation with two variables shows a relationship between two quantities. The dependent variable changes according to the value of the independent. So, for our first example, I'm going to go ahead and read the problem to you. Jerry burns 5.8 calories for every minute she jogs. We've got to identify the independent and dependent variables in this situation. Then we've got to write an equation to represent that relationship. So, looking at example 1, we know that Jerry burns 5.8 calories for every minute she jogs. So we're going to let C stand for your calories and M stand for your minutes. But we've got to decide which one is dependent. So think of it like this. If you are independent, you can do things on your own, right? You can pay for your food. You have a job typically. You're making money. You have income. You don't have. Nobody has to take care of you. Okay. If you are a dependent, you rely on somebody to take care of you. As of right now, you all are dependents. You depend on who? Your parents. Your parents are the independent, right? But you are the dependent. So when we're thinking about this, and we want to know which one is dependent, let's look back at the problem. It said Jerry burns 5.8 calories for every minute she jogs. So if we want to know how many calories she jogged in all, what does that depend on? But what does it depend on in this case? We have to know what to be able to know how many calories she's jogged. The number of minutes. So that means M for minutes. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. So the calories depend on what? The number of calories depend on what? The minutes. You see what I mean? We know that it's 5.8 calories for 1 minute, right? But in order to know how many calories she's burned the entire time she's jogging, I have to know the minutes. That makes C, the calories, the dependent variable. And that means M, the minutes, is the independent. Because the C depends on the M. The number of calories burned depends on the number of minutes that she jogged. Does that make sense? Alright, so the total calories burned is equal to 5.8 times the number of minutes. So how would I write that as an equation?
M times something.
Well, look right here. The total calories is equal. So what would I use for my total calories? Which one of these would I use for calories? C equals. Then I have 5.8 times the number of minutes. What's the number of minutes? Do we know? It's just M. So times M, or just put the M there, and that automatically means times M. So we have the equation. C equals 5.8 times M. And that's as far as we're doing with that problem, because it wanted to know, it wanted us to identify which one was independent and which one was dependent. And then it wanted us to write an equation. So we've done both those things. Here we identified, and here we wrote the equation. Notice that the dependent is usually going to be by itself on one side of the equation. And the independent is going to usually be with a number. Alright? Any questions there? Alright, let's look at example 2. I'm going to go ahead and pause so you can write that down. Alright, Lori went bowling with her friends. Each game that she plays costs $3.25, plus she has to pay a one-time shoe rental fee of $2.50. So the $2.50 is like, that pays for her shoes for the whole day, no matter how many games she plays. But she has to pay $3.25 for every game she plays. So first thing we've got to do is we've got to figure out what's going to be the dependent variable, what's going to be the independent variable. Now our total cost, we're going to use the variable C, and the number of games is going to be G. Okay? Alright, so your total, what depends on something else. Do the games depend on the total cost, or does the total cost depend on the number of games?
The total cost depends on the number of games.
To figure out your total cost, you have to know how many games you're going to play, right? So that means that total cost would have to be our dependent. So we're going to put C is our dependent. That means that our independent has to be what? G. All right, the total cost, now we've got to do the equation part. The total cost, which is C, so the total cost is, so we're going to put equals, the cost of the game, so game times, cost of the game, I should have underlined, cost of the game times the number of games plus the shoe rental. So, cost of the game is how much?
$3.25.
So here, and we're going to drop that $sign, so we'll just put $3.25 like that. And it says times the number of games. So that's going to be a variable, right? Because we don't know how many games. So we're using G, so we'll put 3.25 G, which is the same thing as 325 times G, plus, and the shoe rental is $250. So there's our equation. Are you with me? Total cost is always going to be your dependent. Anytime it asks for total cost, it's always your dependent. Did I say independent? It's always your dependent because it's always going to depend on how much you're buying, how much you're spending, okay, how many items you get. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use this equation to find the total cost to play 3 games. So now we're actually going to apply our equation. So we're trying to find the cost. We have $3.25 times G, and the reason I'm saying times this time is because I'm replacing G with what?
3.
With 3. So 325 times 3, and then we'll be adding the 250. So according to the order of operations, I have to multiply. So 325 times 3 gives me $9.75. Then I add my shoe rental fee. Which is what? We get $12.25. So the cost to play 3 games would be, this is where we go back and add our $sign. $12.25. Alright.
I thought this was our book. Is that what we're using for?
Huh?
I said I thought this was our book. Is that what we're using for? In the back page.
Yeah, now we're going to the book. Page 343. And actually, I made a copy of the page in your book also for myself. Okay, so here we are again, page 343. We're going to have to identify the independent variable, and then we're going to write the equation. So an online store lets customers have their name printed on any item they buy. The total cost, C, in dollars, is the price of the item. P, in dollars, plus $3.99 for the name. So the total cost, right here, total cost, depends on what? It depends on the price of the item, right? See right here, the total cost is the price of the item. So before we can figure out the total cost with the personalization, we have to know how much the item costs. So the total cost depends on the price of the item. So that means which one's going to be your dependent variable? C, for total cost. And my independent variable will be P, for the price of the item. So when I write my equation, my dependent is going to be by itself, C equals, so now let's look, it's got total cost in dollars is the price of the item P plus $3.99. So for this part, I just put 3 plus, P plus $3.99. Does that make sense?
This is confusing.
It is. You really do have to read them through it. All right, number 2. A raft travels downriver at a rate of 6 miles per hour. The total distance D in miles that the raft travels is equal to the rate times the number of hours. So we know that the rate is 6 miles per hour. So that means 6 miles in 1 hour. So if we want to know the total distance, that depends on what? To know how far we're going, what would we have to know? How much time we're there, how many hours, right? So that means that my distance, my total distance, D, is my dependent. And it depends on the hours. So we'll use H for hours. So what would I have to do? So here, it says the total distance is, so D is equal to the rate times the number of hours. My rate was 6 miles per hour, so 6 times H, so just 6H. So far, we've had the word sentences there to help us write our equation also. The hardest part is deciding which one is dependent, which one's independent. But if you know that your dependent is going to be the one that's by itself, you can look at the equation and go back and place your dependent and independent. All right, let's look at number 3. Apples are on sale for $1.99 a pound. Sheila buys P pounds of apples for a total cost of C dollars. So total cost C would be our dependent, and P for pounds is our independent. So now this time it's a little more difficult to come up with our equation because they don't give us the sentence that tells us word for word what everything is. So to get our total cost, so C equals, because it's the dependent, so we can go ahead and write C equals, what am I having to do with my pounds and the $1.99 to figure out my cost? We're going to have to multiply because it says apples are on sale for $1.99 a pound. So we'd have to take the $1.99 and multiply it by the number of pounds, which we don't know, so we're going to use P. All right, we're going to go ahead and finish page 343, and we'll go from there.